Okay, it's I guess it's time for another Friday night electronics stream. Let me know if the audio's any good. But yeah, I'm just gonna start. Um, so I have this webcam. It's a Logitech C920. I've had it for 3 or 4 years now, and it's a good webcam. I've replaced it with this, which is a Logitech StreamCam. But this is still 1080p. It doesn't do 60 FPS at 1080p like the StreamCam does, but it's still a good camera. And there's been an upgrade kit that's been available for it for a while from a company called Kurokesu. And what it allows, no, not Kurokesu. And what the upgrade kit allows you to do is to mount C and CS mount lenses on this, which is a lens format used for CCTV cameras and TV cameras, and the lenses are available really cheap on eBay and things. And they can be really high quality lenses. So for doing projects like this, for doing electronics projects and live stream and things like that, it would be nice to have the ability to zoom in. I have a digital zoom on this camera, which works like that, but it would be nice to have something physical. Even though the digital zoom here doesn't lose resolution, I don't think, because I think the sensor is capable of more than 1080p. I'd like to get more zoom, right? And a higher quality lens and just see how it works. So I splashed out on a Kurokesu kit, haven't opened it yet. You'll get a live unboxing here. And I'll explain what these bits are a bit later as well. So the plan is to crack this open and change the casing. The kit also comes with a USB-C connector that you have to solder on instead of the kind of hardwired connector that we have here. So let's get the box open and see what it looks like. I'll show you a lens actually first, so you can get an idea of. So you can get an idea of the sizing, etc. So this is a lens that I got on eBay. Cost like £10 or something, and you can find old CCTV cameras with these lenses on them for not much more. So the idea is to adapt this to fit on here essentially, and this is, you know, a reasonable looking zoom lens, f1.4 aperture. So there's a couple of, I've got this lens and I've got another lens by the same brand which is called Computar, made in Japan, I think. Yeah, made in Japan. So I've got a prime lens as well, that's I think an 8mm, and this is, I can't even remember, does it say on there? Yes, is a 3.5 to 8. So I've got 4mm actually. So 4mm works out to the kind of the same as the equivalent focal length, or close enough to what's already on the camera. So that's probably going to be a good prime lens for just general usage as a webcam. And that's f1.2, so it lets in more light as well. And hopefully the fact that these lenses let in more light than what's built in here means that I'll get better image quality out of them. And yeah, there's another prime lens or two that I'd like to buy if they come up for sale cheap enough. But first let's just see if we can get this apart and get the kit installed. Actually no, first let's actually look at the kit and make sure everything's here. So I bought a few things. I bought the kit itself, and it comes with a few options, one of which is an infrared filter, because obviously when you take the case off here, you're going to take the infrared filter off with it. And I also bought, I can't remember what I bought actually, but one thing I didn't buy was the tripod mount adapter, right? So version 1 of this kit comes with a tripod mount built in. It's got the screw thread in the base. Version 2 of the kit doesn't, and it has an interchangeable plate which is like a quick release Arca Swiss plate. So what I did, instead of buying their Arca Swiss plate, I just kind of 3D printed my own. So they provide the CAD models for most of their stuff on their website. So I just downloaded it. I made a couple of modifications for it to 3D print a bit better. So it used to have holes going through this way, which I've removed. But other than that, this is their design, and I just printed it, and that saved me like 18 euros they sell these for. And I'm sure they're very nice, like milled out of aluminium and, you know, beautifully anodized and things, but this was kind of expensive enough on its own. So I saved a little bit of money there. I have a few of them. I took a few attempts to get it right. I think this is the final one, and it's got the screw thread kind of printed in place, and it works really well. I'll show you close up of the screw thread in a second, but you can see that it screws on to that 1/4 inch screw without a problem. And this is the kind of instance where having an upgrade like this would be nice, because if I show this to the camera right now, it's out of focus, right? And I have to go like clicking around to change the focus. Having a focus ring on the camera itself would be useful. Get that to the camera. Don't know if you can see. You can just about see the screw threads inside there, and those just printed in place. I didn't have to tap them, which I was quite impressed with. Okay, let's get the focus back. Cool. So this is the main part. This is the C920 rework kit Mark II. Quite nice packaging, actually. This is quite a small operation, Kurokesu, I think. They're not a big company. And it started out, I think this was probably their first product or second, and they do all sorts of other things now as well. They do CNC motion controllers. They do a couple of these rework kits as well. So they've done one for the Brio, which is a 4K webcam from Logitech. But they also make their own cameras now as well, and they're in the 3rd or 4th generation of their own camera design, which also takes C or CS mount lenses, or I think some of them take M12. The smaller versions of the cameras take M12, and that sticker is really really stubborn. I don't want to like take a scalpel to this in case I scratch the aluminium, but I might be left with no choice. Very carefully. Okay, so it's got a back portion. So it's quite light, actually. It's lighter than I expected. It's all made of aluminium, anodized aluminium. You can see the plates mount over here. The quick release plates mount like that on the 2 holes there, and the lens will thread into here. So that's the front, and it's got grills for the speakers. Not speakers, sorry, microphones. And this is the back portion. There's a slight bit of, I don't know if you can see that. Let me get the focus back up again. That's the wrong way. There we go. So there's a slight blemish in the anodization here. You can see that silver bit there, just on the USB connector. So the other thing this does is it converts it to a USB-C connector. I think I mentioned that, right? So not too much to worry about, I guess, because aluminium doesn't rust in air. But yeah, really nicely made, kind of like artisanal stuff, this, which is why I went for it, instead of, you know, just buying a better webcam, although I might have done that now as well in Black Friday, but we won't talk about that yet. This will still be useful in its original capacity. So I've got a lens cover cap thing to go over here when there's no lens on it. That was like €2 or something. This is the board. So this is the board that you have to solder to get the USB connector on. And no, that's what this is. So this is all the kind of extra bits, and they have some Allen keys in there, which also seem to be, it's just, So there's a bunch of screws. Let me get a tray for this stuff actually. They give you most of the screws you need, I think. I think you need to reuse some of them from the original casing of the camera. And they've given me some Allen keys as well, which are ball-ended Allen keys as well, which is quite nice. Actually wanted to replace some of my Allen keys. So that's very helpful. And then we have, where did it go? It didn't come out of the packet. This is the interface board. So you solder some wires inside the casing to this, get it out, into this, in order to get a USB-C connector. And that mounts in here, I'm guessing, like that. So you get a USB connector on the outside. This is a USB 2.0 webcam, not anything fancier than that, so it's only five contacts here that we need to solder. And they have rework instructions on the website. They have a video. Obviously I'm not going to watch that. I'm just going to take it apart and see what happens. But then when it comes to wiring, obviously I will have to consult the video. And in here, I believe, is an infrared filter, because, like I said, you remove the one that's in the camera with the lens that's in the camera. So, yeah, let's. Where is it? This is looking very much like an empty Ziploc bag right now. But let's see. Give me a second. Yeah. Okay. So there's you can just about see it. The infrared filter there, and some strips of double-sided tape or something maybe to mount it. Yeah, a little strip of double-sided tape. So we can mount that once. So you can mount that on either side of this assembly here. You can mount it inside the ring there, and you can mount it there. I would have liked something that's a bit more discreet, that's not kind of stuck on. And I did have a look, and IR filters are surprisingly expensive. You can get full-size ones, which works out a bit cheaper, but then you have to cut them down, and they're made of glass, and that's not very easy. Let me just measure the diameter of this actually and see if there is a circular one that I can insert with an O-ring or something. That might be a better long-term solution. So if I can find my calipers, that is. A pair of calipers. That is 13 point 13.8-ish. Bigger than I expected, actually. I did try and measure that given the reference photos on the website, and I thought it came out to like 9mm or something, so quite big. Okay, let's crack this webcam open. You can see I didn't show it gone together, so you can see it kind of clips together really nicely actually into a unit like that. So that's what it'll look like when finished, hopefully. Okay, let's get this open. I have no idea how this comes apart. I didn't want to be succumbing to like watching the instructions so soon, but I might have to be honest. I thought they provided wires as well to mount the USB-C connector, but there don't seem to be any in the package. Unless I missed something. I don't think I did. Just check the paperwork. Yeah, no. maybe there's no wires, which I have wires, so it's not the end of the world, but that would be a bit annoying if they weren't present. Okay, so I'm wondering if there's screws under these stickers here, but I can't really feel anything. And there doesn't seem to be anything. Okay, there's a gap here. Yeah, do you know what? I'm just going to watch the video. I will give you a view of this as well. Let's just search it up. Here we go. Wait for the advert. Okay. Okay. It is under there. 2 screws. So you take those screws out and then you basically just destroy the camera. Fair enough. And then there's some more screws. Okay, so you take the microphone grills out and then you unscrew the lens assembly, and then there's a lot more to this camera than I expected actually. I expected it to just be 2 screws and then everything else is clipped. There's quite a few kind of plastic sub-assemblies. And that cable there is for the focusing motor, I think, on the lens. You have to desolder. That entire assembly that sits in front of the sensor, I believe, which is using these. I think that's desoldering some LEDs as well. It's a shame there aren't written instructions. Maybe there are. Maybe I need to look them up, but it's a bit more involved than I thought it would be actually, which is fine. It makes for a decent live stream, maybe. So you take off the lens, and then you cut some wires, which they didn't give me. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what that desoldering LEDs thing is about, but I will have a look. You want 60mm wires. Cool. Yeah, I thought this would, I'd get this whole thing done in an hour, but maybe not. Maybe this will take 2 streams to do. I want to keep this one at about an hour, so we've still got time, but let's get into it. Okay, so we need to get these plastic things off. I don't need to be too careful because hopefully this is never going back together the way it came apart. Apologies about the lighting as well. Hopefully that is something that this will rectify as well, with the lenses being able to let in more light than the one that was in there. Okay, so 2 screws there. And 2 screws here. Hate that feeling if you know when you're like undoing a screw that goes straight into plastic. and you can just feel the kind of softness of the plastic, and you just worry whether it's going to strip the thread out. If you're careful, it never does. But in fact, quick tip also, when you're kind of screwing these screws back into plastic, and they're these kind of small, quite sharp screws, don't kind of screw in straight away, because you'll probably cross thread the plastic. So screw backwards a bit, and you should maybe yeah, there you go. You should be able to kind of feel it fall into the hole, fall into the thread while you're screwing it backwards. And you'll see it as well. It will. There we go. It just kind of goes in. I realize I can't zoom in more. Again, problem that will be fixed with this camera having been modified. But you'll feel it fall into the thread, and then if you screw in, you'll get less resistance, and you'll know that you're not as likely to cross thread it. This isn't exactly the right size screwdriver either, which isn't helping me, but okay. So the next stage is to take off these front microphone covers. I was going to say I have a tool for this, but I'm just trying to use my fingernail for now. That's not working very well. So, time for the spudger, I think. Yeah, there's a bit more soldering to this than I was expecting, really. So I'm not going to rush through it. I don't want to get it wrong. I can see why their video instructions use so much violence here, because this is clipped in quite hard. There we go. Okay. Cool. So the next stage is to remove this lens assembly. I think I should use the right size drill bit, otherwise we're going to have trouble. Not drill bit, sorry, screwdriver bit. That's better. Let's try that. Yeah, the crunchiness of screws in plastic just, I don't know, it makes me feel weird. It's why when I 3D print stuff, even if they're designed with, with screws that go straight into the plastic, and even though screws going straight into the plastic is much stronger from a mechanical point of view in 3D printed parts. There's a video on that by CNC Kitchen. Despite that, just for the ease of constantly reassembling things, I prefer to use threaded inserts. It just doesn't feel right. Threads cutting into plastic. Something like woodworking, right? It's not what you expect in industrial design, but things are made to be disposable nowadays, right? And that's the other thing that I like about kits like this, is that they encourage reuse. They encourage making the most of what you already have, as opposed to just buying a new thing. So this I've had for like 4 years. This camera, this kit cost more than the camera cost 4 years ago probably, but this is a perfectly good camera, and I could buy a new one, and like I said, I kind of did, but I wasn't planning to when I got this, right? And if I do, so I bought a Brio, which I will use. I've done multiple camera view streams, and I will make use of what I've got to the fullest, hopefully. But if I move on from this camera, I can buy another rework kit or 3D print one, because the Brio kit doesn't require any soldering. So I can take their designs, 3D print a casing for the Brio itself, and then reuse the lenses, right? Reuse these on that. So Yeah, anyway, enough rambling. Let's get this apart. I think these screws in particular are ones that they want you to reuse if you mount the microphones in the camera, which is optional. I'm not going to use the camera microphones. I'm happy with the audio setup I've got now for live streaming, but they're there, so we might as well use them. Oops. Looking at the screen instead of what I'm doing. Cool, so I think these come out now. They're kind of clipped in from top. That sounds like breaking noises. Not sure. All right, let's take these screws out. Just show you what I'm doing. So there's 4 screws, 1, 2, 3, 4 here, and the ones that I took out were 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's just take everything out and then see where we're left. I'm not sure what those LEDs were that they desoldered. They're not visible from this side, so you kind of wonder what they're used to. Oh, they're used for the green ring, aren't they? The blue ring. There's a blue ring that lights up on this camera when it's in use, and this kind of lens cover acts as a light tube. So I'm guessing the LEDs are under these points, these 4 corners here. It's a bit of a shame that the rework kit doesn't kind of have its own light tube, right? To kind of, could be something quite subtle, that just a little dot that sits on the outside and tells you that the camera's in use. It doesn't seem to have that. It also picks up fingerprints really easily. Yeah, it's a shame it doesn't have that, but I'm not using it as a, well, I probably will use it as a webcam actually for work meetings and things, but the main use will be live streaming. Okay, so once this is out, I think these metal components are linked to the mount, so I think that comes out once. Okay, there's another screw here in the middle. Apologies again about the lighting. I'll try and do something about that. Okay, it's feeling a bit looser. I'm not sure which bit is loose yet. What's that? Okay, got some like rubber protector things coming out pretty easily. Okay, and you can see the microphones under there. Let's grab a screwdriver, see if we can pry these covers off. I'm wondering if I'm missing anything, or if I just need a bit more brute force at this point. Let's look back at the video. That stage. So this comes off. Okay, the middle ones come off first. And then, okay, and then the side ones, helpful. And then, okay, that entire assembly comes out. Okay, let's try that. Yeah, that was easy. So that comes out, and that comes out. And then we have some more screws that hold in the PCB. just 2, I think. No, there's more. There's 1 there at least. In the corner. And is there 1 here? We shall see. Oh, I think that's it. I think that's all of them. So maybe. Oh, that was not a nice noise. Let's go back to the video. Okay, yeah, he just pulls it out by the wire. One, two, 1, 2, 3. 3 screws. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's try what the video did. Yeah, it's coming out. It's coming out. Oh, okay, this is the actual USB wire that goes into the back. Obviously, this isn't designed to be disassembled, which is why it might not be the easiest thing to take apart. I think I need to like push this wire through from the back, but it's not really coming out. I wonder if that's a connector. Is that? No, that's soldered. Yeah, this is easier in their video. Okay, cool. That's out. And there's like a split ring holding it in. That's quite a nice design actually, if you can see that there. There we go. So there's a split ring that's like an E-ring, an E-clip that's holding in the cord. Should be fairly easy to remove, and that's nice. I've never seen that. Might look for an opportunity to design something like that. Cool. So there it is. Split clip. Okay, and now this will move out, but not in. Okay, cool. So the next stage is obviously disconnecting this. And I wonder actually, wonder if they expect you to solder straight to the board for the USB connector, or to reuse this connector. I wonder also if I have or could buy one of these connectors and make this reversible. Not that I need to, but it's an interesting thought, I think. So I'm guessing one of the things we need to do is desolder this. I'm sorry, maybe I didn't show the connector that I was referring to, this connector here. Let's see what the next stage is. Can't believe I'm referring to instructions this early, but I did think it would be simpler. Okay, they just snipped that off. I think I'm going to desolder it instead. So then they get rid of the LEDs. And then the focusing thing. And then they get some wire. And they solder it to the board. And I think they then solder that to the other ends of the wire to debug points on the board, as opposed to crimping them to a connector. And I'm wondering if I can just crimp them to a connector. That might be a nicer solution. because I'm guessing they go to the same point. So these test points here, TP1, 2, 3, and then okay, you do need something connected to that. Yeah, okay, there's a thought. What if I leave that connected and reuse this cable? So just snip this off further up. Let's do that. Let's get rid of the heat sink here for a start. And that just goes to the shielding on the USB connector. See if we can get that a little bit further down. Like so. And get my wire cutters. So if you can see that there, this connector comes off here and it's got the data and ground and power lines, and then this goes to the shielding on the USB connector, which I'm guessing is connected to ground. I don't really know too much about how cabling or USB works in that regard. If I snip that off there, there we go. Now I have PCB. Let's see how it fits in the case. Maybe it won't fit yet because the lens is in the way. Yep, it won't. But yeah, okay. Maybe we need to. Maybe we will need to desolder this connector. But I'm wondering still about the rest, about whether we can reuse this connector. I mean, this is beautifully made, but there are some design choices that I would, and it's not the way that I would have designed it, not that I'm an industrial designer or anything, but if there was a bit more of a recess in here for you to be able to reuse the connector. Let's see, maybe this is enough room, but they clearly don't want you to reuse the connector. They clearly want you to solder straight to the PCB. So that's first thing I'm going to do is desolder this guy, and then test the fit inside the case and see if we can reuse the connector. So in order to do that, I'm going to need something to hold it, and I'm going to need a soldering iron. So bear with me a couple of minutes. I should tidy up my workspace a bit as well. as well, blowing. Hopefully going to blow the smoke away from my cameras and screens and things, just in case smoke gets stuck in there, but also away from my face as well, because I don't want to breathe solder fumes. Some of this more of this stuff away. Okay. To select a soldering tip. This is, by the way, the soldering iron that I fixed on my first electronics live stream, I think. Okay, use a tip. I got some new tips as well for it. And I'm thinking, though, that actually, yeah, the tips that I have are a bit too warm. They're 700 degrees Fahrenheit, which is like 400 and something Celsius, which is a bit high for electronics. I don't know why so many of the tips are that temperature. But I have some 600 degree ones, I believe. If I can find them, which I can't. So this is, it says pt1. 7 is the number of 100 degree increments. 700 degrees. I have this, which is screwdriver tip, 0.8mm. Yeah, that might do actually. Or I have this one, which is 1.6mm. Let's give this a go. I thought I had more 600 degree tips, but clearly I don't. I had a 1.6mm spade tip, not spade, sorry, 1.6mm round flat tip, hoof tip, I think. But I think that's 700. Yeah, 700 degrees. That's this one here. Let's give the new one a try. See how good it is. Okay, that was not all in the right place. So this, the repairs on this seem to have worked. It hasn't rusted inside again, as you can see. It's nice and shiny in there. Hopefully, functionally, it's still working as well. We'll find out in a second. I don't know if you need to actually use a wrench to tighten these, but I think hand tight should be fine. It would help if I plugged the soldering iron in as well. So let's do that. On, and while that's warming up, I need a way to hold this, so I'll do that. I got this ages ago and I've not really used it much. It's a small kind of PCB holder, PCB or component holder. Let's give it a go. Let's see how it works. Ooh, just dropped a bit of it. Okay, there's some pins for it. So the idea is that you ring off, that you can put the pins anywhere in this grid, and then you can clamp whatever you're working on into it. So for me, right now, that means how are we going to do this? Okay, that's maximum, and that seems to work okay. So it only opens straight, so I guess you want to clamp things kind of symmetrically. See if that's heating up. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know when I'm like talking quietly. I don't know if I'm audible. Testing 1, 2, testing 1, 2, testing. Yeah, kind of audible, but I should make an effort to speak more loudly, I guess. Yeah. There and there and yes. Lift it off the surface a bit as well. Okay, no, I really don't want that clamp there. I want it there. Cool. So once again, apologies that I can't zoom this in more. I'll try and get the focus a bit better so you can see what's going on. If I do that and then bring the focus up to my hand, hopefully it's going to be a bit clearer for you. Which is there actually. Okay, cool. Okay, and the next thing I want to check is that my fan is blowing smoke in the right direction. So get some solder. Here, and yeah, that's working quite well. So we want to, is that screwed in actually? I didn't even check. Yeah, it's screwed in from the back. So once we've desoldered these, we can lift it out. Maybe I should have used a solder wick or something to suck up this solder, because it's not that easy. $600 does seem to be a good temperature. I'll try and get you a better view of this. Just going to be from here. There we go. I don't know if that's going to make it harder for me to desolder, but hopefully it gives you a better view of what I'm doing. It is going to make it a bit harder to desolder. Okay, that's out. Turn off the iron for now, and let's take this out from the back. Let's unscrew it. One and two. Cool. That's out. So, okay, we can now see the sensor exposed there. So that reflective glassy thing is the actual image sensor. So at this point we should be quite careful with this, because that's unprotected. Any scratches or dirt or dust on that is going to affect the image. So maybe shouldn't have been so kind of gung-ho to get this done. But what I want to check right now is how this fits. First of all, is this going to clear the inside of the case? And secondly, is the rest of it going to clear, I guess? So this goes in that way up. Which way up does it go? Okay, definitely not. Yeah, okay, that's definitely not going to clear. That's clear. Okay, so let's desolder that. I'm going to do this holding it in my hand and making sure that I'm not touching the sensor, obviously. Clean this off. And ooh, burnt myself. It's kind of a rite of passage, isn't it, with every electronics project? You have to burn yourself with the soldering iron a little bit. This is quite hard handheld, actually. I should clamp it. Let's clamp it like this. Doesn't have to be super secure, he says, while it comes out. No, that won't do. It needs to be more secure than I assumed. Let's try that. Put it like that, and then let's add another one here. Okay, that should be good enough. That should be warm enough now. Okay. Come on. Doesn't want to come out. Really doesn't want to come out. Let's try again. Guessing this is why they snipped it, because it's just easier. Maybe 600 degrees Fahrenheit isn't enough, actually. Oh, it's out, I think. It's very hot, at least. Oh, touching the sensor. Okay, let's try doing it like that. In a minute, I am going to become impatient and just snip the wire. Yeah, okay. Where did I put the wire snippers? Maybe it's yeah, I understand now. Actually, they've kind of crimped the connector maybe after they've put it through, so you can't put it back through or something like that. That would make sense. Okay, so take two on this. That way up, this way up. There we go. So you can see the sensor is in there like that, and then the lens goes in front of it. Yep, so I want to check if we can reuse the cable, essentially, which means not the whole cable, obviously, but just the bit that connects this connector to the board. So goes that way around. And then if we let it come, we kind of thread it round and then through that gap. Will it still fit? The answer is no, definitely not. Because it has to cross this entire yeah, okay, that doesn't work. Does it work doing it this way though? So that might work. Let's see. No, it's too tall. There's not enough of a, there's not a deep enough cutout for it. It almost works, but it's kind of pressing the board up to do that. You can see it wobbling. So it almost works, but I'm going to have to do what they said, which is to solder to some of these test points down here. These three. Which I will probably do now, tomorrow. I think I will leave the stream here and finish this off tomorrow. I'm going to leave this mounted up to here, and we're just going to come in, cut some cables, solder to these test points, desolder this thing, which we already, get the focus back up higher. Focus 21, cool. Yeah, desolder this little bit of solder that we left behind, and then we should be good. Final thing I'm going to check before I pack everything away. I'm not going to pack everything away, I'll just come back to this in the morning, but one thing I do want to check is thing I want to check is, was I supposed to get cables with this? So let's just check. Let us see. Yeah. Let's zoom in a bit so you can read that. Probably have to email them about this, because it says you're supposed to get aluminium case, M2 screws, M2 by 5.8 screws times 4, and I do have 4 of those. Sorry, M2.5 by 8 screws. I'm guessing that's these. 1, 2. Okay, those are the M2 ones. That looks like M2.5. That's M2.5. M2.5 by 8. These are M2 by 4. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those. That's weird. M2.5 by 8. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so these are probably the M2.5s. And then M1.6 by 4. I've got 5 of those, and I'm supposed to have 4. 2 Allen keys, USB board I've got, which is down here, this thing, Kynar wire, and I don't have the wire, unless I missed it in the packaging, so I'll have a look, and it's not the end of the world. I have a wire that I can use, but a bit annoying if they didn't provide it. Anyway, that will be it for this stream. Thanks for joining if you did, thanks for watching along if you didn't, but you're still here. And we'll finish this off tomorrow in terms of reassembly. So see you then.